Just a quick note before we get into today's episode, which does include an FA Cup semi-final at Wembley. I am streaming again tonight. It'll be part 2 of the Expedition of Gold that we started earlier in the week. So come on over to twitch.tv/LOLLUJO FM from 9 o'clock tonight. And we're carrying on with Brøndby as we try and win something in Denmark, which is proving to be more difficult than I anticipated it being. Obviously, if you're watching this in the future, that's already happened. You could still head over to Twitch and watch the replay though. Twitch.tv/LOLLUJO FM. It'd be marvellous to see loads of you over there again. Hello and welcome to part 129 of It's Coming Home. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have a Premier League game at home against Huddersfield before we get into that FA Cup semi-final at Wembley on a Wednesday night against Championship champions, presumably by now. Norwich, have they already won the league? They were well clear. They've already promoted. They haven't quite wrapped up winning the title yet, but it's a good Norwich side, so they're going to be a team, probably the only team left in the competition who are in as good form as we are. And our form has just taken its first little blip since the middle of January when we got thumped by Tottenham. Arsenal have now comprehensively beaten us, although we did rebound immediately with a win over Liverpool. So that leaves the league table looking like this, with 3 games to play. We're 10th place, closer to the teams above us than the teams behind us. Utterly, completely comfortable, but it would be nice to pick up a win against Huddersfield just to keep the confidence and the momentum going into the Norwich game. However, despite of the fact it would be nice to do that, I am rotating the team a little bit, just trying to keep everybody fresh for the Norwich game. So that's why it's a slightly unfamiliar lineup that we've got today. So it's Horvat in goal, a back four of Pagano, Noble, Sands and Wells Askew. Van der Horst is playing as the holding midfield player, which apparently he's quite good at doing. So now we've got 3 very good centre-backs. Maybe the answer is to play one of them as a holding midfielder and be properly solid at the base of that midfield. Probably even an argument to play him as a half-back, but that's something to worry about over the summer maybe if we decide this is going to be a permanent solution. Torres and Bishop make up at the midfield, with Samuel just having a little bit of a rest down on the bench. Taylor in behind the strikers, again allowing Manu to have a little bit of a rest. And Kano is partnered by Batella, who's making his first start to the club after he spectacularly announced his arrival in the last episode. He's in to allow Adrio to sit out on the bench for this game as well. So let's get into this. There's a lot. All eyes are on Batella. I know there's a couple of unfamiliar faces in there. Taylor's been unlucky. He's picked up injuries at times when he would have been. Hold on, Huddersfield are the 5th form team in the league. My word, Huddersfield are playing well as well. Well, let's just say, we are in slightly better form. And what I was saying about Taylor, let's not write Taylor off just yet. I know he's not exactly been a Premier League superstar in his first season, but he has had a couple of injuries that have stopped him playing as many games as I would have liked. He is still only 21 and still does have a lot of potential. He's a very different kind of attacking midfielder to what we get with Manu. Manu, much more creative, linking the midfield up a lot better. What I would expect from Taylor is goals. He's in there playing as a shadow striker. He's lightning quick and is at times going to be almost like a third striker. I think with having Batella up there, who's naturally a target man, even though I won't ever use him as that, don't like target men, he's going to be a complete forward for me. But he's going to be someone who, my thinking is, can hold the ball up quite nicely, give Taylor time and space to make his forward runs into. And I think the combination of the two of them together could be really cool, with Kano just there to do what Kano does. But all that talk and we're 1-0 down after 4 minutes because I've fiddled too much. I've ruined everything. I've taken my own momentum away by fiddling with a winning formula. I should just try and get other players into the mix and do a little bit of rotation, because on this run, although it's been an awesome run, it's been a run that's very much been about the 11 or 12 players who've been part of that run. And if we are going to have a Europa League campaign next year, which obviously we are, we can't just be relying on the same 11 players all the time. We need the likes of Taylor to be able to rotate into this team, because if they can't, that's putting an awful lot of pressure, both physically and emotionally, on Manu to be the only attacking midfielder we've got who's going to get in the team. And that's not a great situation to be in. So we need to really identify which of the fringe players are actually good enough to be part of the club going into next season. And that's what tomorrow's episode is going to be about. When we play those last 2 games of the season, I know they're against Manchester United and Chelsea, so as far as I'm concerned, we're probably going to lose anyway. So it's going to be a good opportunity just to have a look at the rest of the squad and work out what we need to do this summer. Right, assertively, we've been the better team here. Just go sort your lives out, you silly bears. It's going to make no difference at all to the league situation. It's just momentum. That's all. I mean, momentum and morale going into the Norwich game. Norwich won't be dropping points and won't be losing matches at this stage of the season. This would make it 2 defeats in 3 for us if we manage to mess this up. And that's not a good situation to go into an FA Cup semi-final with. Botella, probably a little bit too early for him. So he can come off and be replaced by Adrio. Torres can come off for Samuel. They're 2 pretty easy changes to make. And we're going to have 10 minutes of passion to go with them. And then we've got Manu ready to come on if need be. But I don't want to make 3 substitutions after an hour. That seems crazy. But with 15 minutes to go, we're still not back into the game. So Taylor can come off, Manu can come on, and we can demand more. Huddersfield are a team we should be able to beat. We all saw what we did to them in the Cup. So we should be able to beat them in the league, but apparently they're all of a sudden in better form than we are, and we're not even getting chances. I hope this is just us being distracted by the trip to Wembley. Well, we weren't distracted by the League Cup, but we have talked before about the whole distracted by a big game syndrome, and I'm hoping that's all this is, and it isn't a return to terrible form when we've got a golden opportunity to go and win a second cup competition. I know we don't need to, but obviously we'd all love to add the FA Cup to the League Cup and do a double cup, a cup double. Cup double makes more sense than double cup. But we want a cup double, for goodness sake. But we've lost the league game, and we're probably going to end up losing 4 of our last 5 now, because we're likely to lose against both Man United and Chelsea. So if we do make it through to the FA Cup final, we're going to have to play in it in terrible form. This might change my plans for the next 3 or 4 matches. Let's shout at them. Not good enough. Must be better against Norwich. We want to go back to Wembley. Right, after that nonsense, we're back to full strength for the Norwich game. Or actually not quite back to full strength, because Sands has picked up a little bit of a knock. So he's going to be sitting this one out wherever he is. Can't even find him. It's only a bruised shin. But again, I keep going back to having all these good centre-backs. It gives me the opportunity to rest them when they're injured. So Sands misses out, but we can go with Noble and Van der Horst as a central defensive partnership, which seems good enough to me. Riviere fit enough to come back in at right back as well, although may not make it through the entire game. But we've got Wells Askew on the bench to come on if needed. Harrison comes back in as our holding midfielder. He's been out of action for a little while. He's been fit enough to play for the last couple of matches, so he can now come back into the team. Torres and Bishop in midfield. Manu comes back in as the attacking midfielder. Adrio comes back in to partner Kano up front. This is almost, if we had Sands and a fully fit Riviere, this is almost as good as we get. Let's see how good Norwich are. Norwich are going to be flying high in incredible form after the season that they've had. So fingers crossed we can get past a championship team. Right, so over to you. The great opportunity to show all the pundits they've been right to back you. Let's passionately say that. I've motivated them. We're motivated. We're at Wembley for the second time this season. Hopefully the second of 3. It'll be interesting to see how many of the home faithful travel for a Wednesday night game at Wembley when we've already had our Sunday afternoon out. We took 35,000 home fans to the League Cup final. I can't imagine Norwich are filling their allocation either, surely. I don't think there's going to be 90,000 people in Wembley for this, and we're already 1-0 down. And it feels like the Huddersfield game all over again. This is not the start I had in mind. I've been playing too much Football Manager. I'm actually speaking in Football Manager speak. It's worrisome, but let's have 10 minutes of passion now. We're getting our passion in early today. Adrio's anxious. I'm pretty anxious. We've had a brilliant. We've had a good season. We've had a brilliant 2033 so far. We had a miserable end to 2032. That's why we're only mid-table after the form we've been in for the second half of this season. But form is a fickle beast in Football Manager, and we were so poor for so long, and it was the FA Cup game against Oxford back in January that gave us the spark that put us in the good form we've been in since, and it could end up being the FA Cup that puts us back in our place again. The Cup run has certainly done us good this year, but is this maybe one game too far? No, Norwich are in the Championship. Sort your lives out. We're 2-0 down. We are 2-0 down against a team from the division below. We've been one of the form teams in the Premier League for 4 months, and we're now losing to a team from the division below. This seems a lot more like us. I don't want to see your dirty replay. Let's demand more. I mean, Norwich are a bigger and probably better team than we are, but we shouldn't be. I mean, we're going to concede a third before half-time. We should not be 3-0 down against a Championship team in any circumstances. There is no excuse. I don't understand how Football Manager does things like this. We just beat Liverpool. Oh, morale and momentum are too overpowered in this game. Norwich are not 3 goals better than us. They're just not. But because they've not lost a game in even longer than we were unbeaten for, they get all the fun. Just got to scream at these idiots. We've just got to be better. We haven't even got Sir Anthony Harris on the bit because he's injured. We don't have a home original to bring on and motivate us. This probably would have been a time to have Mick Powell on the bench rather than Ollie Steer. But still, even Mick Powell doesn't turn this around. For goodness sake. How on earth are we losing 4-0? How on earth are we losing 4-0? We've only taken 12,000 fans. Norwich have taken 78,000 people to Wembley. That's how we're 4-0 down. Only 12,000 of our fans have bothered to turn up for an FA Cup semi-final. How do we take 35,000 people to the League Cup final, but only 12,000 to the FA Cup semi-final? Where are the other 23,000 people? We're 4-0 down because we've been silent. It's an away game. Ugh. This could not have gone worse. Oh my word. This could not have gone worse. What do we even do? Kano's been awful. Steer can come on for him. The game's still going on and I don't care. I don't want to watch any more of it. Samuel can come on for Torres. I'm going to make a triple. We haven't got another centre back on. We've got to take Riviere off anyway because he wasn't fit enough to play the whole game. Well, can we come back from this then? 10 minutes of passion. We've got to score 4 goals in 15 minutes. And we haven't looked like scoring at any point during the game. So I think it's fairly unlikely we're going to do that. We're going to end this season on a horrible losing run. 5-0 down. This is sickening. This is the worst beating we've taken since being in the Premier League. And it's come against a Championship club. That makes me worry that the reason we've had a good season again this year isn't because we're any good, but it's because our reputation is still low enough that teams are still playing their reserves against us. Where when we come against a team like Norwich, who are a division below, they're up for the game, they're playing their first team, playing their hardest, and they've thumped us. It does make me fear what might happen next season. I was so confident an episode or two ago, and this needs to be a learning point. This is a low point for the series. We have to build from this. This is not a nice first taste of the FA Cup semi-final. Losing 5-0 against a lower league team. Oh, that's hideous. I'm not happy. You're all fired. We start rebuilding again from the next match. Well, I don't know what to do for these last 2 games now. I had planned to experiment, but I don't want to end the season losing 5 games out of 6 because that morale and momentum then carries over into next season. And then we start the season badly whilst trying to qualify for our Europa League group, presumably. And all of a sudden we're bottom of the league by November, probably with higher expectations next year. It's all gone wrong. That was it. The save's over. I've ruined it. if you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.